without scanning. Okay. This time it went smooth. So I'm a professor at Tel Aviv University. I promised not to do any more talking about Cyber Week. And I'm also the CTO of BG Protect. So we want to talk about cyber attack and elections. It's been said before that this is something happening, and I think it's really important because when somebody is breaking into a bank and steals some money, it's sad, or information. But here we're talking about attack on the core values of our societies. And we've seen this happening both in the US and the French elections. So what we were trying to do here is to ask, can we look at future elections and try and find signs that somebody is trying to manipulate things? And to think how can we do this, we have to understand that in order to break to political organization or to state offices that deal with elections, one needs to apply sophisticated tools, because we assume that these things are well protected. This is what we hope happening. So the idea is that we're doing long-term APTs, and when I look at how do you perform them, there are various tools, but in many of them, there's a very important building block, which is called IP hijack attack, which is usually come at the first stage, and then comes the additional attack, and they do this either to penetrate a target network or a mail server, or to break communication encryption. So just in one slide, what is an IP hijack attack? The idea here is that when there is communication, like here, this example is a real example for communication from Israel to the area of Bratislava, where there's a very famous antivirus company. What is happening here is somebody divert the traffic towards its own network, forming man-in-the-middle attack. Since communication continued to flow, nobody sees that anything is happening, and now I'm in the middle of communication. I can do many things. For example, I can do espionage. I can insert Trojans. I can use the information I learned about statistics of the communication in order to lower the search space and be able to penetrate the network. So we're talking about a very serious threat, which is usually just the first stage in an advanced attack. And we thought if somebody want to penetrate, say, a political party, this is probably a sign we can find. And the nice thing about this kind of attacks is that they can last for months without being noticed, because everything looks to work normally. Maybe a little bit more delay. So we had the German election in the end of last year, and in August we decided this is an interesting target because there was a little bit of a thrill there. So we singled out 4 of the main parties, the CDU, SPD, FDP, and AfD. All of them have D in them. And we looked for interesting sites for these companies. So we were not looking for websites where there's only some, pamphlets and videos and stuff like this. We're looking for places where you can actually log in, donate money, email servers, things that will be actually interesting for people to look at. And we set up the stage to look what is happening to communication towards these places. And first thing we found was the SPD website. And it turned out that traffic from England to this and to other websites of the SPD were somehow going to New York City. Now, all this path from England to New York is within the same network. So if somebody in this network was able being bribed, for example, to divert traffic, it was no problem for this person. One individual could do this attack. You don't need, sophisticated tools. And this is going on now for several weeks in August, and we say, we wonder if somebody will notice, if this is really stable. Other thing we did, of course, was to see if this is very unique to this website, or maybe, there's some big chaos in this network. Maybe, this guy don't know how to run the network. So we compared this route to other routes. And you can see here that other routes take a reasonable route, of course, through other European capitals, but this was the only route that was going through New York. We kept waiting, looking at this, and then a few weeks after it started, we start seeing traffic changes. And you can see here the delay changes as route is changing. And I gave you a few examples of the route. So suddenly the route is going, instead of to New York, to Montreal, and from there to New York. Or it's going now to Paris, and from Paris to New York. So as you can see, traffic was shifting, but New York is acting as a magnet. Somebody really wanted traffic to go there. Now, who was it? It could be an American. It could be somebody masquerading as an American. We don't have the ability to go and hunt for the identity of the people that are doing this. But we know somehow they gain access to specific network, and we know this network. Okay. And this is the route. Next thing, the Alternative for Deutschland, AfD. It became much more important than we thought when we started looking at them. So they have their mail servers hosted in Bucharest, Romania in the beginning in August. And then at some point in September, they decided to move it to Germany, to an area, to a facility in Bremen. And then we start noticing something really interesting. What you see here is traffic from Israel going to Germany, and at Frankfurt, it is moving to a Russian interface called a company called Megaphone. Now, this is what we call the stealth attack. It's very hard to find it. Actually, nobody that we talked to, either here in the UNA's group, the Israeli Cyber Bureau, and then we talked to people in the FBI, in the Europol, and in DASIX itself, the people that operated, nobody believed what we told them until we actually showed them the data. And this was very interesting, and so this was for the AfD. And then we continue looking at the data, and we found also the SPD is also involved here, which is really interesting. We actually invested quite a lot of time and effort in investigating the last attack. So for the first attack, it's really a mystery. It is not clear who diverted the traffic. It was certainly somebody within the network, the British network. It's not really British. It's an international conglomerate with actually ties in Russia. But it is somebody within there and inside there, or somebody managed to infiltrate this network and insert a static rule to force traffic to New York. As for the second attack, we now have much more data. It turned out it was part for a much, much larger attack committed by the Russian with many, many targets, especially actually in the US, but also a few in Europe. It is not clear for us that the German parties were actually targets here. It's hard to say. Probably not. It's kind of what we call collateral damage. But we do know that there was a very large-scale attack happening at that place. And this is just show you what you can do with one election campaign. We actually want to do this again next year with other campaigns going in around the world. If you have suggestions, I'll be very happy to take them. This could be interesting. Yeah. Okay, I guess this is it. Question? Okay. Going to a break.
We have a Daniel now.